What if the plants most capable of surviving extreme heat are the very ones you've probably never seen in a seed catalogue? Across deserts, ancient villages, and forgotten farming regions, people have been growing food for centuries under conditions that would destroy modern crops. Temperatures over 100 degrees, months without rain, soil that barely looks farmable, and yet harvests still happened. Meanwhile, modern agriculture largely depends on crops designed for perfect conditions: steady rainfall, controlled irrigation, and ideal temperatures. But those conditions are disappearing in many parts of the world. Long before industrial farming, civilizations had already solved the problem of growing food in brutal climates. They cultivated crops that didn't just survive drought and heat, they actually thrived in it. Today, we're looking at 10 remarkable crops that flourish in extreme heat. Plants that have quietly sustained communities for generations, while modern farming systems largely ignored them. If you believe nature already holds solutions we've forgotten, Verdant Harvest is the place for you. So consider subscribing if you enjoy rediscovering nature's timeless wisdom. Let's begin our list, starting with a plant that gardeners in hot climates rely on when nearly everything else fails. Number 10. Armenian cucumber, the summer survivor. Despite the name, Armenian cucumbers originated in the scorching region between Turkey and Iran. Regular cucumbers often become bitter and stop producing once the heat rises. Armenian cucumbers don't have that problem. Technically, they're closer to melons than cucumbers, which gives them greater heat tolerance. Their long, ribbed fruits can grow up to 3 feet, though they're best harvested when they're about 12–18 inches long. They have thin skins that don't require peeling, and a mild flavor that stays pleasant even during heat waves. Provide a trellis and full sun, and the vines will reward you with harvests when other cucumbers struggle. But vegetables aren't the only crops that can thrive during intense heat. What if you could also grow leafy greens through the hottest part of summer? Number 9. Malabar spinach, the summer green. Traditional spinach quickly bolts once temperatures rise past about 75 degrees Celsius. Malabar spinach does the opposite. Native to tropical regions of India and Southeast Asia, it barely starts growing until temperatures climb above 80 degrees Celsius. Once the heat arrives, the plant grows vigorously, producing thick, succulent leaves that resemble spinach with a slight citrus hint. The vines can climb 10 feet or more when supported by a trellis. The leaves have a slightly mucilaginous texture, similar to okra, which makes them especially useful in soups and stir-fries. For gardeners who miss fresh greens during the hottest months, Malabar spinach fills the gap perfectly. But the next plant doesn't just provide food, it actually improves the soil for everything else you grow. Number 8. Yard-long beans, the astonishing legume. Originating in Southeast Asia, yard-long beans grow exactly how their name suggests, sometimes producing pods up to 3 feet long. They're closely related to cowpeas and share the same love for heat and humidity. While regular beans often drop their blossoms during hot nights, yard-long beans continue producing. For eating, the pods are best picked at about 12–18 inches long when they're tender and crisp. Their flavor sits somewhere between green beans and asparagus, and the climbing vines produce abundantly when supported by trellises. And just like cowpeas, they help enrich the soil by fixing nitrogen. But the next plant on the list takes resilience even further. It's so nutritious and adaptable that aid organizations now promote it in regions facing severe food insecurity. Number 7. Moringa, the miracle tree. Originally from the Himalayan foothills, moringa has spread throughout tropical regions because of its extraordinary benefits. Its leaves contain exceptional levels of nutrients. More vitamin A than carrots, more calcium than milk, more iron than spinach, and more potassium than bananas. Even more impressive is how little the tree demands in return. Moringa tolerates temperatures above 100 degrees Celsius and survives drought conditions that would wipe out many crops. The leaves can be harvested continuously, and the tree grows quickly enough that you can begin harvesting just months after planting. In tropical climates, it becomes a long-term food source. In cooler regions, It can be grown as an annual or kept in containers and brought indoors during winter. But while trees like moringa provide remarkable nutrition, the next crop focuses on something equally important: reliable calories during difficult conditions. Number 6. Sweet potato, the underground survivor. Unlike regular potatoes, which often struggle in hot climates, sweet potatoes prefer warmth. Originally domesticated in Central and South America over 5,000 years ago, these plants thrive when temperatures stay between roughly 80 degrees and 95 degrees. Their deep roots allow them to access water hidden deeper in the soil, giving them impressive drought tolerance. The edible tubers develop underground and can remain there until harvest, essentially acting as natural storage. Even the leaves are edible and nutritious when cooked like spinach. Few crops produce as many calories per square foot with so little maintenance. But when it comes to drought resistance, one ancient grain stands out above many modern staples. Number 5. Sorghum, the overlooked grain. First domesticated in Africa around 5,000 years ago, sorghum became a foundational crop in some of the world's hottest regions. Compared to corn, sorghum can produce grain using roughly 40% less water. Even when drought arrives, sorghum plants can enter a dormant state instead of dying, waiting for rain before continuing their growth. The grain itself is incredibly versatile. It can be cooked like rice, ground into flour, or even popped like popcorn. Historically, sorghum syrup served as a major sweetener across the American South before cheap sugar imports replaced it. Despite these advantages, industrial farming focused more heavily on corn because it produced higher yields under perfect conditions, but those perfect conditions are becoming harder to guarantee. Still, the next crop might be even more impressive, because it was designed by nature for some of the harshest farming conditions imaginable. Number 4. Tepary beans, the desert specialist. For over 8,000 years, indigenous farmers of the Sonoran Desert cultivated tepary beans under conditions that seem almost impossible for agriculture. Temperatures often exceeded 110 degrees, and rainfall averaged only about 5 inches annually. Yet these beans evolved specifically to handle that environment. Their root systems grow significantly deeper than those of common beans, allowing them to access moisture far below the surface. When drought intensifies, the plants even drop their leaves to conserve water, regrowing them once moisture returns. The dried beans are highly nutritious and store for decades when kept dry. Spanish explorers once documented desert communities thriving on these beans, even as European crops failed nearby. But incredibly, the next crop on our list predates even many ancient grains. Number 3. Millet, one of humanity's first grains. Millet was domesticated roughly 7,000 years ago in both China and Africa. Early farmers valued it for one reason above all else: it could survive where other grains failed. Millet grows quickly, sometimes maturing in just about 60 days. That short growth cycle allows it to complete its life cycle before drought becomes severe. It tolerates poor soils, intense heat, and minimal rainfall while still producing a nutritious harvest. It's also naturally gluten-free and widely used in porridges, breads, fermented drinks, and other traditional foods. Even today, hundreds of millions of people across Africa and India rely on millet when wheat and corn cannot grow reliably. But another ancient crop provided even more complete nutrition, and once supported one of the greatest civilizations in the Americas. Number 2. Amaranth, the Aztec superfood. When Spanish conquistadors arrived in Mexico, they discovered that the Aztec Empire relied heavily on amaranth. This tiny seed crop was so culturally important that it was even used in religious ceremonies. Because of that connection, Spanish rulers attempted to eliminate its cultivation to weaken Aztec traditions. Despite centuries of suppression, amaranth survived, and its nutritional value explains why. Amaranth contains more protein than most grains, and provides all 9 essential amino acids humans need. It thrives in temperatures exceeding 100 degrees, tolerates poor soils, and produces both edible leaves and highly nutritious seeds. Those seeds can be popped like miniature popcorn, cooked into porridge, or ground into flour. Today, interest in amaranth is returning as farmers rediscover its resilience. But one final plant on this list stands apart because it produces food, medicine, and beverages from a single stunning crop. Number 1. Roselle hibiscus, the multi-purpose plant. Most people think of hibiscus as an ornamental flower, but roselle hibiscus is grown primarily for its edible calices, the fleshy red structures that form after the flower fades. Originating in West Africa, roselle spread across tropical regions because of how much it offers from a single plant. Those deep red calices are used to make the bright tart drink known in Mexico as agua de Jamaica. They're also rich in vitamin C and have long been used traditionally to support healthy blood pressure. Roselle can also be turned into jams, sauces, wine, and herbal teas. Even the young leaves can be eaten as tangy greens. And despite producing all of this, the plant remains extremely tolerant of heat, poor soil, and drought once established. For gardeners in hot climates, few plants offer such a combination of beauty, productivity, and resilience. These ancient crops carry thousands of years of farming wisdom, developed long before irrigation and chemical fertilizers existed. As climates get hotter and less predictable, resilient plants like amaranth, tepary beans, and millet may become more valuable than ever. Try planting a few in your garden. And if this video helped you discover something new, subscribe to Verdant Harvest and share in the comments which crop you'd grow first. Your ideas and experiences help others in the community learn what truly works.